If you want someone to make you a meal to serve customers, you need to let them shop for the groceries. Creating unique customer journeys has become a necessity in today's hyper-connected and competitive world. But delivering a truly customized experience for consumers across channels means carefully sourcing and curating the right ingredients of data. Done right, it enables employees to engage in richer interactions with customers, culminating in a more co-creative model that drives up brand loyalty. Done wrong, it leads to disconnection between what the consumer needs and what you have to offer. Managing data to achieve the right outcomes needs an environment that is free, agile, and smart. Democratization of data is now at the front of enterprise technology conversations in the boardroom. From access to deployment anywhere, anytime data heralds a new fork in the timeline of Industrial Revolution 4.0, with Data 4.0 now being at the heart of any digital transformation. This is your front row seat to watching the implications of that development unfold. Welcome to this virtual discussion titled Simplifying Complexity, Unlocking the Potential of Data-Driven Decision Making, brought to you by Mint in association with Oracle. I'm your host Gautam Srinivasan, and joining me are industry leaders who will share their insights on the topic. Our panel features Prasad Rai, Vice President of the Global Strategic Clients Group at Oracle India, Nidhi Jain, founder and CEO at digital healthcare platform CareXpert Technologies, and Piyush Pankaj, business head of the Cable TV division and Chief Strategy Officer at GTPL Hathway, which is the second largest multi-service operator in India. And of course, I'm Gautam Srinivasan, your anchor for today's session. Thank you everyone for joining us on this discussion. Let's start with looking at the origin story, as it is with any great story. Let's look at the origin of data as a starting point to understand the evolution of data management and the possibilities that it offers. Now, we have been through 3 generations of data management, from data warehousing to data lakes, and now data hubs, catalogs, and data fabric. So data capital, being business capital, is now an essential part of the corporate tapestry. So inside every company is a hidden data economy. But when it comes to improving that source of data here in India, we are faced with external and internal challenges. And here I'd like all of your views on this, how to address these internal and external challenges. And by external, I mean, the sheer size and volume as more parts come online. And internal is, of course, the fragmentation which occurs. So my question to all 3 of you is, how should companies rethink their strategies and operations to unlock the value of all that data that they already collect and discover a data economy hidden from plain sight? Prasad, we'll come to you first for this.
Thank you, Gautam. Data is both a great challenge and an opportunity for us right now. And it is the conversation that is happening as we go and will only continue to increase. If you look at, organizations' data, a vast amount of a company's data is hidden in its software applications or buried deep in some cabinet and never get really used. It stays typically with, business divisions rather than something that's aggregated to create new product or provide better services to the customer or to the market. And that is really one of the big challenges that we have, right? The way we think about, the way we can really monetize, we can help get the value out of all of this and start applying, data analytics and artificial intelligence into this is really about looking at it from 3 different areas, right? How do we unlock the value of the hidden data economy? The first one is really about data liquidity. The second is data productivity. And the third is data security. Because if you think about it, data by itself has no real intrinsic value. It generates value or helps decrease cost or some other benefit when it's applied to a process or used to deliver a decision. Let me just go into the 3 aspects that I talked about, right? The first one, which is really about data liquidity. What does that mean? It means it is the ability to get data from its point of origin to many different points for use efficiently and for the benefit. It's about time, cost, and the effort to repurpose data for new uses. Just think about it, right? What you really need to do is transform data from, say, a mobile to a corporate application, and then there could be many other sources of data. Therefore, what you need is a multimodal, which is in sense, you're able to organize data and store it and manipulate it in many different ways. And also to be able to look at different kinds of data. It could be JSON, it could be graph, it could be relational models. And how do you bring it all together to the point where it can be used? That is data liquidity. The second important aspect of unlocking the hidden data economy really is about data productivity, which is what is the rupee output per data that is input, right? How do you take a given data set in a particular action or a decision point, and what is the incremental revenue or benefit that is generated from it, right? And the third piece, which is top of mind every day, you see it in media, you see it in the newspapers, is about data security. Because every activity now, either it's personal, commercial, or civic, there is data that is being gathered, and it kind of really rewrites the entire social contract between people, companies, and the government. So in effect, I think what is most important is to be able to look at the three aspects: data liquidity, data productivity, and data security, so that you can really unlock the hidden economy.
All right, let's see what the response is from our leaders in the healthcare and the media and communication space when it comes to unlocking the value of data from the perspective shared by Prasad, which is liquidity, productivity, and security. Nidhi, let me come to you first. From your viewpoint, how do you unlock the value of data from these three guardrails of productivity, liquidity, and security? Because as we discussed, there is a massive data economy hidden, which when discovered brings exponential benefits both for organizations and for customers they serve as well.
Can I start from these three good points, liquidity, productivity, and security? But in healthcare, what we have seen is the data is not even there. So we are working on a first problem, which is data digitization. If the data is there, for example, digital X-ray machines are there, right? We have bought it from GE. But what we are doing with the X-ray, we are throwing them away. So first is I would say the data storage is very, very important. And the software which is collecting the data, that is very important in the healthcare industry, right? So 95% of the hospital in India don't use medical records. So data is not even there in the healthcare industry. So that's
is it still the same even during the pandemic? Because we saw a lot of data being generated. There are reports stating, the healthcare sector generates the largest volume of data because there's a lot of remote work happening. Are you saying that things are still not at the level where they're expected to be?
No, sir. It's very infancy stage, Gautam. Very infancy stage, right? Very infancy stage in the healthcare. And the problem is many. It's a very complex software which needs to be built. The softwares are also not there which can solve the hospital problem. So we say that what hospitals are doing right now, they buy 20 software as a pointed solution. Every hospital is doing the same exercise. They're trying, build, integrate inside the hospital. Right. So every hospital is repeating the same thing. So we are 20 years old in the healthcare industry, especially in India. So the data, first we have to collect the data, single lake, and the data fabrication and the other point which you are telling us comes later. So digitization is the first problem, and the mindset, to me, the mindset has to be changed, right? We are living in a digitization era. So without digitization, we cannot, move further. So mindset has to be changed, and it is changing. The pandemic has changed this mindset.
All
Not,
right.
it not happened automatically. Now pandemic is like, they're thinking that, okay, more remote care, more digitization, more, the data is there, but is it coming as a liquid and the productive model which you are saying, and it is coming only when remote teleconsultation I'm doing. It's a WhatsApp prescription which is coming. Do I call
Hmm.
it digitized? Probably not.
We're
So
probably missing the woods for the trees when we hear these reports and we think, yes, everything is being digitized, but there's still a massive potential left. And I'll come to you to understand more about how you manage to convince hospitals to use singular platforms to converge all of their data to get more insights. But in the meanwhile, Piyush, let me come to you as an industry. Media and communications and telecom, they face supply and demand pressures all the time. So in terms of unlocking, the value of data, what's your thinking around it?
See, in media and industry, the challenge is capturing the correct data, not
Mm.
fragmented, and capturing the complete data on that way. See, we are a regulated industry from TRI. TRI has given us that we have to do the know your KYC for every customer. KYC is happening from last 10 years, and it has happened earlier in the filling the forms from the ground and coming back, putting it into the computers. Whether it is coming correct, not correct, we don't know. The first thing is how you will start getting the data from the source, which is when the customer is coming to you. At that time, customer is giving you information and updating those information straight. Technology helped us, all the softwares and all, that to reach to the customer level and get the correct data and the correct input in. As you reach to the customer houses, then you start bringing more and more softwares in such a way that you can capture more data as the customer preferences and all. And that journey, if I say for the media and industry, it is happening from last 3 to 4 years. Not before that. Digitization has not happened in India, and digitization just completed by 2018 in the end. And there is a massive data which has to be captured, especially phase three, phase four, where the customers don't know how to fill the form. They don't know the languages. You have to go for the versatile languages on that way so that they can fill it up online or through some sources, giving them in the way that it will be easier for them so that they can fill it up and send it to us. And then the capturing of data will happen. Because the first step is to get their addresses, to get their numbers, get their details. And from there, you start doing all the interactions with the customers. You start putting more softwares on that and start taking the preferences and all. So that's
Right.
a journey there which is happening still, I would say. And the software tools are helping us in the whole media and industry to capture those data and bring it to our system. Till the time you don't have complete and correct data, all the analysis will go wrong on that.
Hmm.
uh, all the preferences which you are seeing in the customers, for metro, for town, urban areas, it's all right. They are educated, they know how to fill the data and all. But as you go more and more rural, phase three, phase four markets, and then you start facing those problems where the real India or mass of India is lying. So that problem, that has a big problem which we faced from 2018 onwards to how to capture those. And
Hmm.
then we started solving it by different applications, by educations, by giving them more and more learning how to do that, and then start capturing the whole data and doing whole the analysis part on that. The second part comes the integration because the data capturing is happening with different softwares at different places. It's like it's happening on the branch offices, it's happening at the unit offices, it's happening on the at the operator levels, it's happening on the distributor levels. You have to manage all those data into one database in such a fashion that it can be analyzed. So that was the another problem which you have to do. You have to standardize the whole capturing of data.
All right.
So the whole industry has faced that problem, but yeah,
Hmm.
now we are at the level at which you can do all type of analysis, and still we'll say that around 90% of data is correct, 10% is still work in progress, which is going on. But these are the challenges which we have to solve. More and more tools are coming, which is helping us in capturing those data, and we look forward that it will become better and better for us to have.
Absolutely. We'll
Correct.
understand more about the challenges that all these industries face and, of course, how you overcame that. In fact, on that topic, Nidhi, I'll come to you. You lead a healthcare driven AI platform that pioneers in designing technology infrastructure with a patient centric approach, which enables exponential growth in healthcare organizations. Now, your plan is to cover a network of over 100,000 hospitals in the next 5 years. But considering what you were telling earlier, that digitization is still a challenge, and even though in the pandemic we saw a surge in data due to remote healthcare solutions being used, how has the conversation between your company and hospitals that you approach to use your platform changed as a result of this embrace of remote healthcare? Because as you mentioned earlier, there would be some edge cases where some you might get reports on WhatsApp or something, but when it comes to mainstream usage, mainstream digital transformation of healthcare in general, the conversation still has not reached a level where you could say that this is going to have a massive impact. So how are you changing that conversation with hospitals?
So we are talking to the hospital, or I would say decision maker, and we
Mhm.
have seen the shift from last 2 years to this year, because pandemic has made them frozen. Actually, the technology they were using, right? So they are ready to listen and what new technologies can make their business more agile and more reachable to patient. Accessibility is very, very important for them. So telehealth, remote care, home care. So these patterns now they are looking as part of the solution itself. Earlier it was not as part of the solution. Now they have become the mainstream solution from that perspective. And second is how I can collaborate. For example, AI companies are coming into pictures, right? For example, lung AI is there, but whatever the hospital information system I am running the hospital inside, is it collaborative enough to use that AI system? Those are not there in the legacy model. So we have to make sure the system which we are building for tomorrow, they are more collaborative in nature, right? What you are mentioning, that so collaborating and fabric model we have to bring. So that's how we are convincing, because we are creating single data lake application, we are creating more collaborating no coding integration engine so that we can collaborate with other system. And that's how we are convincing these hospitals. And we have big and large customers who are making a shift, like they're trying to change SAP healthcare kind of software to care expert software, because it's more agile in nature and more collaborative in nature.
All right. So you're managing it end to end. Let
End
me
to end.
All
Yes.
right. Let me also come to you, Piyush. You have
Yeah.
over 2 decades of experience across the media and entertainment and internet and e-commerce industries. You now handle strategy and the video business for GTPL Hathway. Now, the pandemic has driven record viewership as people stayed at home during the lockdown. And while OTT platforms might have gained the most, GTPL Hathway is looking to grow its cable subscriber base by more than 50% to reach that 12 million mark using a sort of a push-pull strategy. So how is data working behind the scenes to help you achieve that target despite heavy competition from OTT platforms amid changing content consumption patterns? Because as you said earlier, you have a lot of data coming in. So, but how are you making sense of that data despite heavy competition? And how are, say, players like Oracle helping you in that respect?
Yeah. So we have gone for sorry, Exadata of Oracle, which has helped us a lot in capturing the correct data and doing the all type of analysis on that. And the whole thing is right now that what are the customer preferences which you have to capture. There are data which is capturing it, and there are millions of data. You can say at the customer level, there is a trend of every day, every hour also in the system. But how to do that big data analysis and come with the relevant thing which is going to help you in making the right decisions. that was the question mark on which we worked last year totally on that how we can go. And Oracle helped us on that in whole managing the whole data. And somewhere we have come up with the relevant data and relevant fact of the data, which is helping us. Some artificial intelligence also build on that, which is helping us in coming to the right decisions that what type of product we should bring in, which market we should go, what preferences are there, what local channels are getting viewed on those. So local channels plays a big roles as we go more and more locally. Like a news channel in Nagpur is more favorite than the other news channels in their own language, in their vernacular, rather than the other news channels, the local channels. So all type of data, those type of data has started coming to us, and we started focusing that how we can go more and more and more and more local rather than global. So earlier the approach was in media industry always that you go local, global. You're just looking at the metro markets and the bigger markets and taking the decisions on that. As you go hyper local and based on the data, the analysis, the preferences, vernacular which you required, the languages and all, that is helping us in penetrating more and more.
Mm.
And so coming from 8 million to 12 million, we are adding around 1 million every year as the customer base. We are going more and deeper into the different states. And in different states, I'll say that increasing the number of states where we are present. Plus, we are going more on rural. So
Okay.
rural areas where still you can see that the entertainment is not reaching totally, when still they are deprived of, you can say, better infrastructures which can provide them as the quality level and plus the volume level of those type of entertainments. So we are trying through the data analysis and all that how we can go and penetrate more and more rural, and that is going to help us in the growth. So that is the
So
strategy.
you're confident of hitting that 12 million mark thanks to the solutions which are at work to achieve that target. So when it comes to think global and act hyper local, let me get in Prasad in as to explain to us more use cases which work, because with data capital and data intelligence being core economy drivers, I want to understand how does Oracle, with its technology and expertise in data analytics and cloud, enable large organizations and conglomerates in the B2C and B2B space to transition and transform effectively in the digital space, especially as India and Bharat focus on digital enablement and digital consumption as part of data democratization. Prasad, you heard Piyush explain to us how Oracle's helped them, but on a broader basis, what are the use cases emerging where Oracle is playing a value-added enabler?
Happy to, Gautam. In fact, Oracle started as a data company, with security being a very important aspect, because the first project that Oracle did was for a security organization managing the data in the US. And since then, it's become a fairly large global organization. So we are still very much a data company. And that's what we believe in, and that's what we work on. In fact, our mission is really about helping people see data in new ways, discover insights, and unlock endless possibilities. That's what we really talk about. If you think about it, in India, right? Every banking transaction, pretty much a very large chunk of the banking transactions that happen daily run on Oracle database, right? All the telecom operators in the country, so pretty much supporting every mobile call in the country is on Oracle products. So similarly, whether it's a stock exchange, airline tickets, any pharmaceutical development, Oracle's the underpinning technology stack that continues to help. But let me get straight to the point over here, Gautam, which is, you said, how is it used? One great example that I like to repeat is about Zoom, the very popular, video conferencing tool that all of us use. So Zoom came to Oracle to run their whole application on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is OCI. Deployment started in December 2019 and was completed at a global level by March, April 2020. And when it was completed and rolled out, there were about 10 million users on the platform. In a matter of just 2 months, that actually zoomed up to 300 million users for Zoom. And that entire scaling up was completely supported by Oracle's cloud infrastructure, or OCI. Another great example is the South African telecom operator. I'm just giving some global examples. Maybe later on I'll talk about some Indian ones too. But MTN, it is a global operator headquartered out of South Africa and present in many different organizations. They did what is typically termed as the largest digital transformation in a telecom. They rolled out the Oracle applications on cloud across multiple countries, right? And now pretty much many of their back-end operations happens on Oracle's, cloud applications. Another great example is Halliburton, right? Is one of the world's largest oil field service companies that caters to the energy industry itself. What they've done is that they have actually leveraged Oracle's big data cloud to replace the older complex infrastructure that they had and be able to get very deep insights on one area on their core business, which is about oil fields, etc. And then on the other area, it's about for their back office operations. All of these done completely on Oracle's technology, right? Similarly, we have some examples of Indian organizations, but I was just listening to Nidhi and Piyush. Very interesting at different levels of evolution and all the challenges that they face. Very real challenges, right? And great opportunities too. For example, just before and during the pandemic, Nidhi, we saw many of the larger hospital chains embark on cloud-based technologies implementation, including Apollo Hospitals, Fortis, Sir Gangaram Hospitals here in Delhi. And they were using that because they wanted to be able to leverage technology to harness the data that they have and then use that in a much more productive manner. And I'm sure with all the work that you're doing, the opportunity is great to really start modernizing many of these healthcare organizations and the hospitals.
Absolutely. And I look forward to that digitally transformative healthcare experience. But this is an exchange of ideas, so it's good to compare and exchange notes with each other. And the examples that you gave from a global perspective, Prasad, I guess you could say if data is the new oil, refining it is where the magic comes alive, since you mentioned Halliburton.
Yeah.
But you gave us global examples. Coming to India from a structural perspective, Prasad, how can India democratize data and usher in an era of digital capital that will create endless possibilities, fueling the growth of the country and the people of India? This is from a broad structural perspective that I want you to answer from.
Absolutely. Happy to, Gautam. And in fact, I'm keeping it very simple because there are 3 areas that we work to support organizations, whether they are corporates, public or private sector organizations, so that they're able to leverage the data much better. The first one is about simplifying complexity. How do we create common data models and next generation cloud infrastructure that helps create a unified platform, right? So that the organizations are actually able to unlock the value. The next, which is really about unlocking the value, is about how do you bring together in real time scattered and unstructured data from across the organization to create a single version of the truth. And the third is really to be able to leverage new technologies such as artificial intelligence driven data services, right? So that you're able to actually use Oracle's products like, Autonomous Analytics Cloud and Autonomous Database to deliver customizations and personalizations at scale. Just to give you a couple of Indian examples, right? One of the things that we did was we ran a very successful pilot with Niti Aayog along with Apollo Pharmacy and Strides Pharma, where we used Oracle's blockchain and IoT technologies to reduce the growing menace of fake drug production and distribution, right? And also IoT to help in tracking temperature control of medicines, especially for medicines like vaccine, and also to leverage blockchain to help build a track and trace process or system so that one can go right back to the origin of the drug from the manufacturing plant where it's been created. Now, this is one example of how we used Oracle's technology to actually address a real problem, which is fake drug production and distribution. That's one lovely example because of blockchain and IoT, very new technologies that are in place. Another great example is you would have heard about the Aspirational Districts program, which is a core Government of India project, right? Where it is a program that started in 2018. And what it does is it really picked up 112 of the most backward districts in India, which they are behind from the rest of the districts in India in education, healthcare and nutrition, skills, agriculture, and many more aspects, right? And this also had Niti Aayog working on it. And the challenge was really to be able to lift these districts to a much higher level over the period of 3 years, right? And as a part of that program, what we have done is we've used modern technology, including machine learning and artificial intelligence, so that we are able to actually get and collate data that is available for the district collectors. And therefore, they can actually decide how to really start, what are the areas to focus on, and how do we really start creating that change in these backward districts. In fact, that portal, it's called Champions of Change, and is being used by all these district collectors in the 112 districts to help actually leapfrog to the future. Just one more example I thought would be useful over here, where we've used OCI, which is Oracle's cloud infrastructure, and we worked with NIC and IEEE under the aegis of MeitY to conduct hackathons and create or incubate new ideas, particularly in the areas of education, transportation, and agriculture. For example, in the hackathon, it was about developing applications that help AI-based crop recommendations for farmers so that they can plan the crop rotation in the right manner, right? We also saw blockchain-based seed certification, right? So that there is a thorough quality check throughout the supply chain of seed distribution, right? And very interestingly, automated vigilance of exams and tests for educational institutes, where in some cases, it is unsupervised. These and, automated checking of fitness of commercial vehicles, or even easy document uploads. All of these are generated over there. The other area where I see, very interesting things coming is that 5G is coming into India in a matter of, a few months maybe. A lot of the 5G technology that Oracle creates internally, and we are a leader in that space, is developed in our Bangalore and Hyderabad centers. So that technology is actually developed in India, and therefore there is a lot of incorporation of what is happening in India and how that can be utilized, because everyone is now looking to find new models for use cases in the 5G space, because there will be a massive explosion of data. And then how do we harness that data to really change the way businesses run, new businesses are created, and create opportunities for many people. So those were some examples of how Oracle's doing similar work in data in India.
All right, it's what Piyush said. You can think global, but you need to act hyper local, and it's great to see all these use cases that you mentioned, which is showing us digital transformation in the broader public sector as well. And what's more important is the impact is being felt all around us. But I'll still come back to one challenge, which is that even if you convince a lot of the stakeholders about the possibilities of unlocking data, the issue still comes from infrastructure, and especially legacy infrastructure. And this is more prevalent in the healthcare space. So Nidhi, research commissioned by Oracle a few years earlier shows 60% of businesses seeing an integrated approach to cloud as a way to unlock the potential of disruptive technologies. They know that, but the same note finds many businesses yet to explore the potential of, say, Industry 4.0 technologies due to the lack of the right cloud infrastructure model. They are locked in a world of legacy IT that keeps their horizons and ambitions low. Now, the healthcare sector is still burdened with a lot of legacy infra. So how did you convince hospitals to break free from their analog past and step into the digital future?
So I agree with Prasad with many of the points. Like for me, cloud is also the game changer. So if we don't move to new technologies, we can't use this data empowerment which we are talking about. So first is the movement to the new technologies. So when we come to the healthcare, what we face is the security is the first challenge. Is it a myth or I don't know? Is the IT, if they see if it's on-premise, then it is safe. If it is on cloud, then it is not safe. So what we have done for our software, we have working with PwC to make sure that it is cyber secure. So our applications, 50 applications which we have pre-built for hospital, they are basically cyber secure. So security is first and foremost concern for there to moving from legacy system to to the other system. Then other is a commercial model. It's a SaaS based model. So I don't have to capex based model. Instead of doing capex based model, we are moving to a opex based model. So everything is instead of having a crore based infrastructure movement which they have already invested. So instead of doing that investment, we are making their transition easy to make them SaaS based model, and it's a monthly transparent modeling which we have done. And I don't think so in India nobody is providing that kind of 50 application which is all SaaS based, including OP, IP, ER journey, whatever we talk about, which runs in a hospital. And it's a fully managed services. So IT staff does not have to struggle for the services. For example, scaling the services as the load goes up and down. We are providing this as a managed services. So that's how we are, solving and convincing healthcare decision maker to move to the cloud.
All right. I guess that point hyperlinks to what Prasad mentioned earlier about liquidity, productivity, and security as being three key pillars when it comes to unlocking the value of data. But let's also explore, the synergies which can come about when you discover how in the large organizations, different divisions who might otherwise not work together do work when they have the power of digital transformation on their side. So Piyush, let me come to you. How is digital transformation helping GTPL Hathway bring its cable and broadband business closer together to attract more customers? It's your upcoming hybrid set-top box that offers linear and OTT content, the result of breaking down data walls and creating new revenue streams in the process.
We are in the business of delivering video. We are delivering it to 10 million plus households in India, in urban and rural, both the places. And we look forward that technology has given us the opportunity to deliver it through RF also and now data also. The data which you are seeing is the OTT plus the broadband, which is coming up on that way. RF already we have the infrastructures which is there. So one challenge is the infrastructure side, where how you can put the whole infrastructure into the play. And the second challenge is the database, that how you can converge the both data together, the broadband business and cable business, plus bringing the OTT together. The solution is that you converge the business totally. You bring the equipments which is going to deliver all together, and that is what hybrid box is. It is making your non-smart TV into smart TV, and where you can put linear live TVs, you can do OTTs, and you can do the broadband together. And that is what the next product which we are bringing into the market. How data is helping us on that? That we already have a separate system which was there for the broadband, and there was a separate system for uh, cable TV. Now, with the help of Oracle, also with the help of the backend systems integrating together, and we are bringing them together so that you can identify. You can have one customer ID for every customer. It's not that you have a different business for broadband, you have a customer ID, and you have a different business for cable, you have a customer ID. How to bring the one customer into one fold and start giving them all three together, all the three services. So we believe that we are a pipe which is reaching to the customer household through intelligence, through data analytics and all. How can you bring all the services together at the household, which is their preferences? It's their choices. They want to have this. They want to have a different set of you can say convergence, whether it is cable TV plus OTT. They want cable plus broadband plus OTT. They want only broadband plus OTT. All things together. Plus, how you are going to layer the services as you are reaching to the customer households. You can do the security services. It's just required a small camera which is there, which you can supply, and all the data are reaching there. You can do the security services. You can do the layering of financial services over that. So it's like if you are reaching household and you are a pipe, there is a lot of potentials. But all these potentials can be unearthed when you are doing the analysis on the data on the customer preferences, which I think Oracle is helping us a lot on that side.
Fantastic. Prasad, you want to join in and add to the fact that there's a lot of unlocking of value to be had when you look at your business, even if you're a large business with many divisions, if they work together, if they synergize. So do you see this trend of convergence, since we are in an omni-channel world where it's one customer, one window, the business itself thinking along the lines of synergy and unlocking the value of data to address the consumer in that channel?
Very much. In fact, that is the theme that I see very often. Simply because many companies were traditionally created as divisions, right? And somehow each division kind of looked after itself and was fine. But now the management is beginning to really find out that, when we synergize, when we are able to bring all of this together, the power of the offerings just increases multifold. Not just the power, the attractiveness of the offering increases multifold. The other thing that we see in this rapidly evolving data, digital, and cloud world is something that Nidhi spoke about. Some of the companies that I spoke about, the healthcare companies, Apollo's, like Apollo, Fortis, these are all big organizations. But what we really see is, because of the cloud, it has really democratized everything. You are able to now take these services through a cloud model, as Nidhi was talking about SaaS, software as a service, and deliver that to smaller organizations where they don't have access to the kind of skills larger organizations have. Simply because now technology has been simplified and is being delivered as a service. And the end user, whether they are a large organization or a small organization, have access to the same world-leading technologies. And so that's where the democratization comes in. And of course, Piyush was talking about, how do I leverage this? How do I leverage the fact that I'm able to take a combined offering and therefore be able to deliver and service my customer with more than just one component that I have to deliver. And that is about how do we really get the data together and then from there get the kind of insights and make decisions to be able to what is typically called cross-sell, upsell, right? So that because it's widely known getting a new customer is much more expensive than getting more business from an existing customer. So if you are able to get the data together and come up with campaigns and programs that help you go back to your existing customer and deliver them more high quality services, that is just the way to grow the business. I think great ideas from both Nidhi and Piyush on how that can all be done.
And that's a good point that you mentioned, the fact that it's not just democracy of the company, it's democracy of the marketplace which data is enabling. And I think that's a great point to also get summary statements from all of you into what you're thinking. Do you see data democratizing the marketplace where larger players do not necessarily have the advantage? If smaller players make smarter use of their data to understand and deliver on customer expectations. Piyush, we'll come to you first and then Nidhi.
The crux is how you are going to capture the data, whether a small or large organization. And the second is how you are going to use the data, which is the productivity. Security part is always there because if you are going with a bigger organization, having a good security, because that's the first criteria which comes. As we are, as an organization, dealing with the customer data, which is very sensitive data, the security parts comes automatically the first in the making of the decisions that what type of companies or what type of software companies you want to go. So, but the most crux part for business side comes in the capturing of the data and how you are going to cut those data in the analysis part. And there, the difference between large players and small players doesn't go. It's like a small player who are utilizing the data better and understanding their customers better, they can do better than the large player. So it depends that how you uh, focus on data analytics using all type of intelligence, whether it is artificial, whether it is in-house, whether it is human intelligence, and then using those data for making your strategy and taking your steps. So you're right, it's democratizing everyone. It's not that only big players can use the database effectively. It's like smaller organizations who are getting the wings, you can say, and their scale of operations, they can do better and better as more data crunching and more data analysis happens.
All right, Nidhi, your view on this, the democratization of the marketplace where larger players don't necessarily have the advantage. What's your thought on this?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Piyush that either we are big or small, this data democratization has to be adapted. Irrespective of the size of the company, because in, let's say, if we talk about the healthcare, patient is patient, right? Either it is coming to a small hospital or a big hospital. If we don't understand that patient and its journey, if I've taken 3 appointments before, what kind of disease it has, if I don't have that patient history, then I'm not serving that patient right. So irrespective of the size of the hospital, we have to adapt it. And I think with given technologies, like Prasad said, the different size of different technologies which are available now at the marketplace. So even the nursing home can adopt it now. The big sizes companies or the hospital, Apollo of the world, which were adapting. Now we can take these technologies to the smaller of the world also. So I think that is from my side. So it is available to everyone now.
All right, Prasad, your message to the smaller players in the ecosystem as we wrap up this conversation, especially when it comes to democratization of data, what would that be?
I mean, just think back a few decades. People thought the world could be run with a few dozen mainframes. Now, a majority of the population of the world has in their hands more processing power than the mainframes did. That is really democratization, right? And what the transformation that is happening there is that it's not only happening to people, but those services are available to smaller organizations. Cloud digital with the underpinnings of data has just changed the game completely. Smaller organizations have access to the most sophisticated technologies. Access both in terms of how much it costs for them to use and what are the kind of skills they need to start using it. Because a lot of focus is on user experience, how easily the user starts looking at using these systems. And I think that's a great can to democratization of data.
All right.
I mean, absolutely. But thank you very much. Yeah, that's
Well,
what I just wanted to say.
I guess to paraphrase a popular yesteryear song, this revolution will not be televised, but it will be digitized. So I guess that's where things go from here. But I guess today's discussion has clearly brought out the fact that it is important to democratize data so that access to information is available anywhere, anytime, and to as many people as possible to ensure that businesses are able to engage in effective and strategic decision making. It will also help in driving opportunities and innovation in the larger scheme of things for organization, as we heard from the use cases stated by Piyush and Nidhi as to how their different sectors are working, and of course the points, the key foundation stones of unlocking the value of data Prasad mentioned, that is liquidity, productivity, and security. As long as those guardrails are there, you stand a great chance of unlocking the value of your data. And it's clear that Oracle has been a trusted partner for Reliance as well to access real-time data to deliver personalization at scale to millions of its customers. And of course, we are excited to see how this collaboration pans out in the future. But for now, it's a wrap. Thank you to all of our speakers for taking the time to speak with us. And of course, thank you to our viewers for tuning in. This is Gautam Srinivasan signing off.